Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar. Then we'll go through Twitter and have a look at some of the snow and wind scenes we've been seeing over the last day or so, and then we'll have a look at the weather warnings as we still have some stormy and some unsettled conditions over the next few days. Nowhere near as bad as yesterday with Storm Eunice, but still yellow warnings in force quite widely. And then we'll have a look at the UKMO Operational Run, the GFS and the GFS Ensembles, as there are hints maybe in the longer term for things turning a little bit more settled, but still got a lot of stormy, unsettled conditions over the next 5 days to get through. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure to like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So if we do start by having a look at the live radar, you can see how we have had an area of rain and some snow moving through the country earlier today, arriving this morning, and it is slowly clearing. As of I'm recording this around 4 PM, it is slowly clearing away through the east. Still some heavier pulses and a bit of snow over the northeast near Kingston upon Hull. But that whole band for Yorkshire, northwest England to Lancashire, we have seen some heavy snowfall. And we'll have a look at some of those images in a minute. And we've been seeing a good few centimetres. Some areas in sort of the epicentre of the precipitation seeing a good few inches of big wet snow. And because it's not bitterly cold out there, temperatures are widely around 1 or 2 degrees in these areas, and the snow was mainly caused from evaporative cooling, i.e. within the precipitation the temperature is brought down as evaporation causes cooling within the air. It means we saw massive flakes, some with the images we'll see in a minute, 2 to 3 inches across, which is massive, really. And it's mean we've seen some very high slushy accumulations. Should all melt away very quickly over the next 12 hours or so, but some areas may linger a little bit longer. Elsewhere, though, just some heavy precipitation and gusty winds alongside this as well. Still gusting 50, 60 miles per hour, but nowhere near the sort of 70 or 80 miles per hour that we were seeing with Storm Eunice. However, behind that, it is dry, a bit of dry weather, still a bit of cloud around, but there should be some breaks. But if we look out towards Ireland, Northern Ireland and Western Scotland, we do have the next system coming in for this evening. That's going to bring in widespread heavy rain and very strong winds once again to northwestern areas. Very strong gusts with this yellow warnings perhaps, and maybe even seeing an upgrade to an amber warning perhaps, depending on the exact track of this system. It's not a named storm by any means, but it still is a very severe system that could provide some issues, especially for areas that did see quite a lot of damage from Storm Eunice. As I've said repeatedly over the last few days, even if Storm Eunice didn't bring down loads of trees where you are, it most likely would have weakened structures, weakened power lines, trees, and that means even a moderate gust of 40, 50 miles per hour could still cause some disruption. I would suspect that if we hadn't come off the back of some very big severe named storms with Dudley and Eunice, we could be seeing systems coming up in the next few days as named storms, but they're nowhere near on the level of Storm Dudley as Storm Eunice. Good 10, 20 miles per hour less in terms of wind gusts, so I don't think they will be named. But just continuing the unsettled and windy and wintry theme over the next few days. Now, if we do have a look at Twitter, if we do start actually having a look at here from Storm Chaser UK EU, make sure you give all these people a follow. Of course, I've retweeted this on my Twitter, so you'll be able to see these accounts. And you can see this is how nature and weather amazes me. Salt on the window here in Maidstone, Kent, 40 miles from the south coast. Winds carrying salt this far shows the power of Storm Eunice and its severity. You can see there on the window all these salt specks coming in, just showing you the spray that's travelling through the air. Of course, when squally rains coming through, strong winds, carries all this moisture inland, all this rain and spray. It just showed you the power of this storm that we did see yesterday. So yeah, just very interesting seeing images from this 40 miles away. Now if we do come up and have a look in Rochdale, this is the snow earlier this morning, and you can see massive flakes, and even though it's not bitterly cold by any means, these flakes are big enough to cool temperatures down substantially and cool down surfaces very quickly as well. You see massive flakes, and of course this is just an image. In person it's even bigger than this. Truly exceptional, and we tend to see this where it's very, very marginal and we get evaporated cooling wet temperatures around 1 or 2 degrees. But the reason why we see these big clumpy flakes is because you've got small dusty flakes dry, powdery snow that we see when it's bitterly cold, when that forms up in the upper levels of the atmosphere as precipitation, because as it falls through the atmosphere, temperatures warm up a little bit, it melts these snowflakes very slightly, especially on the edges, and that means when they bump into other snowflakes, they stick together more than just bump and separate. So that's why we get these big clumps of snowflakes building up. Very wet snow, and it can give significant accumulations very, very quickly. We see this most years, we see this sort of event as it is normally within the margin snow. It does melt away quite quickly because it is quite slushy, but it can still cause quite a lot of disruptions. You can see visibility is quite low with the big clump of flakes, and it does look pretty beautiful indeed. Of course, a little bit disruptive. See another image here from Blackburn, up in Lancashire. Large snowflakes of Blackburn, and you can see it is covering the surface very quickly, but as I said, it should melt away pretty quickly as well. Move up again, see another area of snow in Bury, Rossendale and Manchester. Retweeted by the Met Office, or quote tweeted by the Met Office, and you can see big snowflakes falling quite widely, giving quite a nice little winter wonderland there after Stormy Eunice passed. See another image here from Matt Hugo, who is a meteorologist on Twitter. Make sure you give him a follow if you're interested in more detailed stuff on Twitter. And you can see here he got a good few inches of snow, but you can see it is very slushy, especially on the roads. Where it's only really white on the top, and below it is slushy, melting away. And I would expect this to dissipate very quickly over the next day or so, with very little remnants tomorrow. But still, quite a bit of snow there, and quite a surprise, really, after what we saw yesterday. Now, of course, we did expect to see some snow today, but it has fallen quite widely over high ground, and in the sort of the typical areas over northern England, where it's 100, 200 metres of elevation. And we do sort of see these events go off, and you can see it only fell in 2 or 3 hours. Really, just shows you how quickly the snow can really build up if you do get that intensity. And then finally, another video of those big clumpy flakes in northern England. Again, creating a covering of snow, and yeah, looking like a beautiful winter wonderland there. And then finally, got a couple more images of, again, big clumpy snowflakes. Again, this will be northern England. Again, will be slushy, but it looks beautiful while it does fall. Again, only isolated spots saw these sort of snowfall rates over the high ground in northern England. But regardless, it still looks really quite amazing. And then you can see here, Blackpool, which is more towards the coast, so you wouldn't expect as much significant accumulations. But you do see here, they did have snow for a time, giving slight slushy accumulations. If I do run through these towards Blackpool Pleasure Beach, really quite cool seeing that. But of course, it is dissipating. You see right along the coast a bit of snow and winteriness, but as I said, should be melting away pretty quickly over the next few hours. So we now have a look at the weather warnings. We have 3 more days of weather warnings today, tomorrow, and Monday. We have a yellow warning today that should expire by 6 p.m. this evening. So only a couple more hours for it. But further strong winds are expected in some southern areas of the UK, which could hamper recovery efforts from Stormy Eunice. We saw this put in force a couple of days ago, so we have looked at this in detail before, but if I just remind everyone, 60 miles per hour likely, 40 to 50 miles per hour inland, and again, as I said earlier, wherever we see trees, power lines that are weakened by Stormy Eunice, we could see them taken down by even only 40, 50 mile per hour gusts. High impact, low likelihood. We did have a snow warning earlier, but it has now expired as that precipitation has moved away. And then for Sunday, we see that system that we're seeing just out in the Atlantic, with the front starting to approach western areas. Very strong winds and heavy rain as well. Widespread wind warning from midday tomorrow until 3 p.m. on Monday, as you just have a lot of low pressure around. Again, 55 to 60 miles per hour. And again, widely around southern and west-facing coasts, some of which may be more vulnerable than usual after the aftermath of Stormy Eunice. Some places inland may say similar strength gusts, and on the Squally rain band itself, gusts could potentially get as high as 70 miles per hour. So still very significant conditions. And yeah, as I said there, Squall line potentially moving through. Blustery showers will follow, and we will see, just a continued high gusts, high likelihood, high impact. And again, if we did see impact zone increase in certain areas, we could see an amber warning for this. Another yellow warning further northwards from tomorrow until midday on Monday. Again, very similar to that, and a yellow warning for high impact, low likelihood of maybe 20 to 40 millimetres of rain, maybe 60 to 80 millimetres. And of course, this is where we saw snow today in some of these regions. So again, a very big mix of conditions coming up over the next couple of days. And of course, on Monday, we see those wind warnings still in force. So if you now have a look at the UK Met Office run, see what it is showing over the next couple of days. Now you can see that weather front approaching from the west early this morning, turned to snow over high ground there. A bit more widespread than this UK Met Office run was showing, so it was a little bit higher than expected in terms of snow. But you can see where it did fall, very intense, and that rain band has brought some very heavy rain through most areas across England and Wales. But it is spreading through, and of course this evening there should be a few showers around. But you can see the big weather front approaching in from the west, turning wintry over the high ground of Scotland, but most areas just seeing heavy rain. And as that moves through, that warm front, significant rainfall, and then you see the cold front move through. Significant with that, very, very unsettled with a squall line moving through, cold air behind it, so wintry showers potentially, but a lot of heavy rain. It does look like Sunday for many areas is going to be a bit of a washout. Starting late this evening into Sunday, yeah, quite a bit of a washout, especially for England and Wales. Now, beyond that, as the cold front eventually clears through Sunday evening, we're just going to a lot of showers in from the northwest. Quite a cold air mass, so temperature's going to drop quite considerably. And you can see wintry showers coming quite far inland. So any areas, or all areas, has the potential, especially further westwards and northwards, but not exclusively, for wintry showers. And beyond that, we just see those wintry showers continue, for eventually we see more weather fronts push through, and again, wintry showers, and then another weather front squall line, and then another real active area of unsettled cold air. Again, could be turning wintry behind that as well for Thursday. 5 days away, so things can still change. But you're seeing this repeated signal of all these lows coming in, squall lines and wintry showers. Very, very unsettled. And it's going to be windy as well. So if we do have a look at the wind gusts, you can see as that weather front moved through earlier today, you can see 40, 50 miles per hour, maybe even 60 miles per hour along the south coast. So still quite significant winds, but it should die down over the course of the evening. All areas should be returning to 10, 20, maybe 30 or 40 mile per hour winds by this evening. Nothing too crazy before the weather front arrives in from the west. Very, very strong winds pushing in. And you can see, once again, 70 miles per hour towards the coast. Maybe even 80 across Northern Ireland and Western Scotland. And inland, 40 or 50. And you can continue to see those 70, 80, maybe 90 mile per hour gusts for a few areas before the low sort of degrade away, and then it moves through early hours of Monday. As I said, this could be a named storm if we hadn't had the severity of the storms over the last couple of days. It's nowhere near on the scale of Storm Eunice, so that's why I don't think it's a named storm. Because it was relative, really. If they did name this storm, it would have nowhere near as much of a punch as Dudley and Eunice. So I don't think there's really any point in naming it. Remember, the point of naming storms is to get awareness out there, so that people take note. But this storm is not, or this system isn't going to be anywhere near as severe. So I don't think a named storm is warranted. And beyond that, we generally just say very unsettled. Some periods of squally rain, some periods of strong winds, light winds, and you can see there, real tight gradient, and that is a squall line moving through Wednesday evening. 60, 70 mile per hour gusts within the squall line behind it, and ahead of it, gusts to drop. We just stay very, very unsettled. Now, if we have a look at the max temperatures, you can see early this morning, quite chilly as we are all in a colder air mass, but as that weather front pushed in, it did pull in some milder air from the south. So temperature in the south getting up to 7, 8, 9 degrees, but you see a big temperature contrast in the North Midlands into northern England, where it's around freezing, or just a couple of degrees above freezing, where we've seen that snow, but 7 or 8 degrees in the Midlands. Beyond that, though, temperatures should stay above freezing tonight, so that's why there is likely to be snowfall. By early hours of the morning, 7, 8 degrees, where we've seen snow earlier today. So as I said, by tomorrow there shouldn't be too much remaining. And temperatures tomorrow are going to be generally quite mild, 11 degrees in the south, but much colder in the north. And that cold front does sweep through once again, and we see temperatures drop to around freezing by early hours of Monday. Before by Monday afternoon, temperatures returning to 9 or 10 degrees in the south. As I said, a lot of up and down. For we do just continually see flip-flopping temperatures, and when those cold fronts come through, especially looking like the end of this coming working week by Thursday, Friday time, real cold air mass moving through early hours of Thursday. Most areas are going to be in a frost, but behind that cold front, very, very cold. Ahead of it, 7 or 8 degrees. So very interesting. We have to keep an eye on that because that really could pep up the precipitation, whether it falls as rain or snow, and could provide some very, very interesting conditions. The school lines are intense and quite unpredictable in terms of wind gusts and rainfall rates as well. So we'll keep an eye on that for the end of the week. Still 5 days away, so I can't say too much about it. But yeah, interesting to see what happens with that. It's very unsettled and sort of wild next few days coming up, even though we don't have any named storms, of course. Now, if we do have a look at the GFS run, have a look at what's happening over the next couple of days. Now, you can see that little system that moved through, that little low pressure system bringing those weather fronts. And then we generally see another quite severe low pressure system move through. And as I said, could have been a named storm if we hadn't come off the back of even more severe storms. But that low eventually moves. We see a brief bump of higher pressure. But by the end of the week, we go back into a real quite cold north to northwesterly flow. Really cold air mass pushes through, and that's why we're going to be seeing those temperatures drop away, but it's not going to last, and we're going to see high pressure build back in, and or milder air pull back in, and high pressure potentially down in the far southeast for around day 10. But low pressure keeps trying to slide into that high pressure, and what it could do is actually force winds up from the south and turn things much milder in the south back into the low to maybe even mid-teens. But on this latest GFS run, that low pressure out in the Atlantic towards Iceland is not giving up, and we eventually see high pressure starting to win out 384 hours, potentially turning things quite mild to start March, maybe even warm, dare I say, getting into the mid-teens, maybe 15, 16 degrees there in the south. But again, all depends on what's happening with the Atlantic. If the Atlantic wins out, it could be very unsettled and rainy, as bringing up air from the south-southwest, bring a lot of moisture with it, could enhance precipitation. But if we did see a scenario like this where high pressure does win out ever so slightly, then we could see warmer or milder conditions, and maybe even dry conditions perhaps with higher pressure. Now, if we do have a look at the GFS Ensembles, you can see this well reflected over the next week or so, remaining very unsettled. A lot of up and down conditions. Sometimes the upper air temperatures get up to around 5 degrees at Andrew FTHBA, or around 3 or 4. Other times getting down to nearly minus 10 degrees, especially further northwards and westwards. A lot of up and down conditions, 10 degree swings at 850 HPA. A lot of precipitation around, mainly in the north and west, but as you see over the next few days, not exclusively. There's going to be a lot of rain, even in the south with weather fronts, but it should turn more convective based, and that's difficult for the ensemble to pick up, as again, more high resolution is required. As you saw by the UKMO run, this ensemble run isn't showing that much precipitation coming into the next week, but as we saw with the UKMO precipitation, there is a lot of convective showers around. But as we head to the last few days of February, looks like temperatures could be up on the going up, with high pressure potentially building it a little bit before much of the ensembles have low pressure winning out. But temperatures around or slightly above average. And you can see that reflected with the sea level pressure. A bit of a pressure rise around the 25th to 27th of February before it does drop off again as some more low pressure scenarios come in. You can see the Operational Run is a bit of a high pressure outlier. Not completely off the charts, but it definitely is well above the ensemble mean in terms of pressure. And if we do have a look at dew points, which shows you the air masses, very big swings. Dew points getting towards 7-8 degrees, which is quite mild air mass in from the mid-Atlantic. Other times getting down to -5 potentially, which is a proper Arctic air mass. And that oscillating dew point is going to give big differences in conditions, and it could change things very quickly. Could be 3 p.m, could be 10 degrees, by midnight could be 1 degree, and that's what we're likely to be seeing over the next few days. So please do keep an eye on the forecast. I know I don't always, I know it's not the best to look at apps all the time, but they are helpful in having a look at general conditions and can do temperatures reasonably well to maybe a couple degrees either way. So do keep an eye on that, as they will do quite well whenever we see one of these cold front moves through, because as I said, it could be 10 degrees early afternoon, and by the evening could be around freezing. So do keep that in mind. And if we do have a look at the 2 meter temperatures as well, you can see quite a lot of up and down again. No, it won't be forecasted too well, as these are lower resolution, of course, and we're going to be seeing big temperature swings. So yeah, very unsettled conditions coming up, continuing over the next 5 days. Stormy Eunice has passed. The worst conditions have now thankfully passed. We have seen some casualties, unfortunately. We have seen a lot of damage, but I don't think it has been as bad as potentially it looked just a couple of days ago. I think definitely getting those red warnings and amber warnings out, a lot of awareness, a lot of social media buzz around it, which I think did benefit us in terms of keeping everyone safe, because a lot of schools were cancelled, a lot of people stayed at home. So some people would say, oh, the red warning wasn't warranted because we didn't see too much damage and there wasn't too many casualties. Of course, there were some, unfortunately, but I definitely think that they were very good preventative measures, seeing these warnings put into force, that have undoubtedly saved a lot of money and a lot of lives as well. So, yes, I think the Met Office has done very well with this, but we've got continued unsettled conditions over the next couple of days, so please do stay safe out there. As I said, things can be still weak, trees can be weak, and even smaller wind gusts can cause some damage. So make sure you do stay safe out there. Anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.